Good day, viewers from all over the world. I welcome you to yet another exciting episode of the program Health Matters on Union 406 TV. The program is designed to educate you all about health-related matters. On today's episode of the program, we will be focusing on children. Oh yes, children. I know you must be wondering what we shall be discussing today as it regards children. Let us go on a short musical break, and when we are back, we will be unveiling the topic and also our guests. I am your host, Toyib Omowale. Don't go nowhere. Stay tuned.
Show me a dancing step. Oh, show me a dancing step. Show me a dancing step. Oh, show me a dancing step. Show me a dancing step. Oh, show me a dancing step. Show me a dancing step. Oh, show me a dancing step. Akwisi ni mabegu. Sanja batano no begwe. Akwisi ni mabegu. Chama batano no begwe. Akwisi ni mabegu. Isama batano no begwe. Show me a dancing step. Oh, show me a dancing step. Show me a dancing step. Oh, show me a dancing step. Bawara megu, Cynthia bawara megu. Ifama bawara megu. Bawara megu. Bawara megu. Asingi bawara megu. Bawara megu. Yege bawara megu. Show me a dancing step. Oh, show me a dancing step. Show me a dancing step. Oh, show me a dancing step. Akwisi ni mabegu. Sanja batano no begwe. Akwisi ni mabegu. Victor batano no begwe.
Welcome back from that short musical break. On today's episode, we will be discussing a learning disability called dyslexia. There are several learning disabilities. We have dysgraphia, dyscalculia, but today we will be discussing dyslexia. Dyslexia is a learning disability that involves difficulty in learning to read, interpret words, letters, and other symbols, but this doesn't affect the general intelligence. In the studio with me today, I have two guests who will be shedding more light on the topic. I have here with me Mr. Folon Shawuni, a speech pathologist and a lecturer at the Osun State University, Ikiri campus. And I also have in the studio Mr. Agwega Bakari, the father of four. Welcome to the program, sirs. We are glad to have you on the program.
Thank you.
So I would like to start with Mr. Awuni. In your opinion, what is dyslexia?
Dyslexia is a medical condition that impair people's learning disability, children's learning disability, the ability to read, to spell, to write, and in some instances, the jumble words together.
All right, sir. Thank you so much, sir. So, sir, I would like to ask again, does dyslexia have anything to do with hereditary? Is it an inherited condition passed from parent down to children?
Well, there might be some biological underpinning for dyslexia, but it's not something that is transmissible. So it is some kind of biological condition that may not have to do with heredity, but it certainly has a very strong biological factor.
Okay, thank you, sir. So, Mr. Brigger, are you familiar with this learning disability?
To an extent, thank you. I would say that as a language teacher for some few years, I would say that I understand basically what dyslexia is. Like I already mentioned, is neurobiological condition that actually affects the ability of an individual to identify the graphical acquisition of a language, and then thereby unable to read in that language, to identify letters and be able to combine words and then speak them correctly. So, in a nutshell, dyslexia makes an individual unable to read in a language and also to write in that language.
Thank you so much, sir. So, sir, can you tell us, at what age did you enroll your children in school?
As this, I was confessed as a father, and with a few years of experience in children raising, you realize that no two children have the same learning capability. So while some are able to show that zeal to want to go to school and learn at a very early age, some actually have a way of delaying it. So basically, it's average of 2 years to 3. That's when my children begin to go to school. So my first child, for everywhere, every first child is an experimentation for the parents. So to say, the first child actually started school by 3 years. But others have actually gone to school earlier than that.
Thank you so much, sir. So I would like to ask again, sir, do they learn at the same pace?
Of course, every teacher knows that no two children learn at the same pace. While some are actually very fast at picking things and learning, some actually delay. So, but as he mentioned, dyslexia is a kind of a condition that may not be easily diagnosed. Because we understand that every child does not have to learn like the other person. So, the children don't learn at the same pace. Of course, they don't.
Okay, so thank you very much, sir. So now let us join Fumi as she interviews people to hear what people have to say about dyslexia. Stay tuned.
What's your name?
My name is Precursor Salamide.
Which department are you from?
Tourism department.
What level?
200 level.
Okay. Have you heard about any learning disability called dyslexia?
Well, I've heard about it.
Okay, so to you, what does dyslexia mean?
Well, it means the ability in which students not able to learn like quickly, or not having the capacity to learn quickly or assimilate quickly.
Okay. At what age and class did you start reading and writing?
I started reading when I was in nursery too, and I was 6 years at that time.
Okay. Have you had any experience, or do you have anybody that is actually having this disability?
Yes, I know of someone. Even in this, like somebody that have entered university, I know of someone of a friend who maybe his background, he has a very low background, like a very bad background in school. So he was unable to maybe construct a good sentence, sentence. Whenever he wants to write, it's very hard for him. So which always reduces his grade in exam. So it used to affect him because he knows, but he does not know how to write.
Can we meet you? What's your name?
My name is Ogmesalo Adamilari Sunday.
What department and level?
Linguistics and Communication Studies, 400 level.
Okay. Are you familiar with any learning disability?
Yeah.
Can you mention one or two?
We have dyslexia.
Okay, dyslexia. Okay. At what age did you start reading and learning?
Well, I started at a very younger age, at age 2.
Age 2?
Yeah.
Are you sure you started reading and learning at age 2?
Yeah.
Wow. What are the words you could write then or say then?
Then we are familiar with using 2-letter words, A, T, R, I, N, A. Then from there we graduated to using 3-letter words,
Okay.
C-A-T cat, B-A-T bat,
Okay.
and so on and so forth.
Okay. Can you tell us what dyslexia means? You said you know what dyslexia is.
In my own idea, in my own opinion, I think is a disorder. Is a mental disorder that has to do with inability to comprehend and make accurate pronunciation of words.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. Can we meet you? What's your name?
Yeah, sure. My name is Oyinkosola Dietary.
Okay. What department are you?
I'm in theater art.
level?
200 level.
Okay. Are you familiar with any learning disability?
No.
Okay. Have you heard about dyslexia before?
No.
Okay. So dyslexia actually means the disability, somebody being able to read and write.
Okay.
So at what age did you start reading and writing? What age and class?
I started reading and writing at the age of 5. Then I was familiar with every word and some kind of stuff like that. So I was familiar with education at the age of 5.
Okay. So can you spell dyslexia?
No, because I don't even know the meaning of it.
Okay.
So I can't.
Alright then. Thank you very much. Hello, good afternoon. Can we meet you?
Okay, so I am Pale Egbotemi. I am a 400 level student of philosophy department at Osun State University, Kire campus.
Okay, I'm Adiola Iyola, a 400 level student of philosophy department also.
Okay. Are you familiar with any learning disability?
No, I am not. Like, when it comes to the name, I am not familiar with, but when it comes to the action, I know of few learning disabilities that I have even experienced some times ago.
Okay, I'm not also familiar with any name of any learning disabilities, but when it comes to the disabilities in itself, I've experienced a lot.
Okay, so at what age or class did you experience that? Did you experience any learning disability?
Okay, I personally, it was when I was in secondary school, and it was not for all subjects. It was not a general learning disability. It was just for maths. I was finding it very difficult to understand the arithmetic when it comes to learning. So I should be around age 13 to 14, and I should be in SS1 or SS2 at that particular point in time.
Okay, my own is when I was in 100 level and 200 level. There's a particular course, metaphysics. I find it difficult to understand that course. Anytime I read, it's just as if they are just saying a language I don't understand, and that is when I'm around age.
Good afternoon. Can we meet you, please?
My name is Sadiq Yusuf. I'm a student.
What department and level?
Linguistics and Communications 400 level.
Okay. Are you familiar with any learning disability?
But I think that a lot of people some people have learning disability. What I understand about learning disability is the inability for someone to learn properly, either to receive information in class properly or to read, either to read or write or comprehend. So it can happen either in production, either in that person being unable to talk, and that person being unable to, of course, comprehend whatever is taught in class.
Do you know the name of any learning disability?
Well, I think that the most famous is dyslexia, the one that is very common, that students cannot be able to comprehend, and even at ages like 11, 10, 12, they are unable to leave primary school, which is, of course, in this part of the world, something that a lot of people do not want, do not even like, do not even want to happen, because at that age, they want the child to be in secondary school or an higher grade institution.
Hello, good afternoon.
Hi,
Can we
good
meet
afternoon.
you?
My name is Otura Yatola.
Okay, what department and level?
Linguistics and Communication Studies, 400 level.
Okay, are you familiar with any learning disability?
Yes, I am. Dyslexia.
Okay, so have you heard about any other learning disability?
Not really.
Okay, so can you tell us what dyslexia is?
Inability to read, write, comprehend.
Okay, so do you have or have you had an experience with anybody that has these signs that you've mentioned?
Yes.
Okay, can you tell us the things that
Actually, I've experienced. I've had this experience with my grandmother. Should I say based on old age? But just notice she forgets things. If you tell her something, she doesn't really understand, and she doesn't know how to read nor write. So that's just the symptoms. But mostly she forgets things. If you tell her something now, you can ask her, she would have forgotten.
Welcome back on the program. Interestingly, some people don't even know there is a learning disability. Not to even talk of that there is a one called dyslexia. Now, sir, I would like to go back to Mr. Huni, sir. Can this learning disability be outgrown?
Dyslexia cannot be cured.
Okay, sir.
There is no sort of direct medical remedy, but it could be managed. It could be managed when it is discovered early enough, maybe at childhood, and then some learning strategies are put in place to give that particular individual with dyslexia some enhanced learning templates. Some protocol of learning will have to be adjusted and be tailor-made to suit that particular dyslexic child.
Thank you so much, sir. So now, Mr. Burega, back to you. How do you help to improve your children's learning ability?
Thank you. As a child, as a parent, like I said earlier, that every child has a different way of learning. And then understanding the condition of every child is very important to being able to provide solutions to the child's problem. So making a child be able to learn requires, first of all, parents identifying the areas where a child could have issues. For instance, now a child of 2 years, according to language development scientists, a child should be able to have certain level of understanding of language at 2 years. So when you discover that a child does not have what is prescribed by scientists at that age, you know that's a problem. So identifying those areas and being able to prefer solutions that are strategic to addressing that issue is very important. So for instance now, every child may not be able to read a letter from identify letters, but it's important that you find a parent who could make sure that you have available cut out what do you call it, cardboards, you have shapes that are in form of letters to ensure that the child has that pictographic learning situation. So when you see a letter, you can actually have it as big as possible and then you can play with it along. So that way it enhances the learning processes. So that's what we do basically. So we ensure that you have play things that are actually structured around learning. So to make them learn better.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you very much, sir. So back to Mr. Awuni. So I'd like to know, sir, is this learning disability limited to just a particular subject in school?
No, but significantly, the language performance usually is one of the major way of detecting whether a child is dyslexic or not. There are thresholds of linguistic performance that is expected of an average normal child. So if any of these children is performing far below that expected threshold, we can then begin to suspect that there probably might be some kind of learning disability. So with that, we can maybe adequately predict if a child is dyslexic or not.
So permit me to ask, sir, is dyslexia a learning disability limited to just English language alone, or do we have it in other languages?
No, it's not language specific.
It's not language specific.
Maybe because maybe approaching it from a linguistic background, we have different stages of language development in children, and this is not biased to any language at all. It could be English, it could be Yoruba, it could be any language at all. So when a child is expected to have developed well above this two-word stage, holophrasic stage, and all of that, and then you really don't see the child, coming up with that kind of level of linguistic performance, then one can begin to suspect.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much, sir. So permit me to ask again, how can teachers and parents help these children to learn, especially children in public schools, whereby we can have up to 20 pupils in a single classroom? How do you think parents and teachers can help them?
I think that will have to do with some level of awareness. The problem we have in this part of the world is that parents most often are not even aware that a child could be dyslexic. So most often, it is only when that child is now beginning to turn in performance, either from any of these learning institutions, from any of the exam, up to when they begin to write major examination like common entrance, that we get to discover that really the performance is far below the threshold. But when we talk about the linguistic performance, this must have started far earlier, like the jumble words, they call maybe things like spirit, they might call it secrets and things like that. So when you begin to notice some of those misses and all of that, early detection would just have been one of the ways to address that. And of course, the school equally do not have enough facility to manage cases like this. So the parent who perhaps experience that the child is slow or the child is having challenges with learning begin to express frustration. And of course, the school equally, especially if this perhaps appear to be a school where the teachers are not well motivated, they probably find it very difficult to really adjust properly to assisting pupils with this type of disability. So usually they are so eager to dismiss pupils like that. In fact, in some school, they must have perhaps find a way of eliminating or withdrawing that particular child from the school. The school feel relief each time any child that is poorly performed is asked to withdraw from school. But of course, we know it has a lot of implication for the society. So the school does not have the facility. Some parents are not aware.
Interesting. I'm sure viewers at home must have been learning from all what our guests in the studio have said so far. It is time for another segment where we shall be dishing out basic tips on healthy living. Stay tuned.
Hello viewers at home, good afternoon. My name is Stephen Kelvin Arupi, and I'm here to give foods that fight dyslexia in children. Like our presenter and the guest have spoken on, what is dyslexia? Dyslexia is the inability, it's a disability, a learning disability for children. Now, we have the foods that help fight dyslexia in children. Number one, we have food rich in iron. Iron has been shown to improve verbal and non-verbal learning in children, in children's memory. Now, foods rich in iron for children. Number one, we have red meat, like beef, like they recommend that you should eat. We have egg, we have fish, including shrimps and oyster vegetables. We have beans, we have liver. Now, we have the second food that fights dyslexia in children. These are foods that are rich in zinc. We have chicken, we have pork, we have beef, we have cereals, we have nuts, we have whole grain. And number three, we have foods that are rich in omega-3 fatty acids. We have peanuts, we have butter, we have milk, we have yogurt, we have salmon, and we have mackerel, etc.
Welcome back to the program Health Education. I am sure parents now know the kinds of food that can help improve the learning ability of their children. Now to our guest. How can government at all levels help these children through the National Policy on Education? I know there's something called National Policy on Education. So, can you tell us?
Oh, yeah. The existing National Policy of Education only recognize some level of disability. They call it Disability Education Acts. And this provision is specifically tailored towards the blind, the deaf, and dumb, those with physical handicap. But the dyslexic syndrome that we are dealing with is not captured. One would wish that the kind of idea or the knowledge about this dyslexic syndrome is well propagated, and the attention of the government is drawn to it through the proper policy brief, so that there could be some kind of provision on the part of the educational stakeholders as to facilitate better learning platform for these dyslexic children. One thing about dyslexia is that it does not really imply that those children are dons. Most of them are superb. Most of them are really gifted in several other areas. In fact, we have presidents of nations who have been dyslexic. People like Winston Churchill, the light we use today by Thomas Edison, the guy used to be dyslexic. Wow. So we've had some very fantastic geniuses in, who have been dyslexic, and they eventually were able to maximize their potential. So it's something that the various stakeholders, the parents, the teachers, the government, the various educational stakeholders will definitely have to really come together and formulate better policy to attend to dyslexic children.
Right, so thank you very much. So I would sincerely like to appreciate our guests for finding time to come on the program. Now we have come to the end of today's episode of the program Health Education. I sincerely appreciate our guests once again for coming. I sincerely also appreciate the executive producers, Dr. Mary Okocha and Mr. Victor Adifemi. I also like to appreciate the entire crew, and without you, this program would not be a success. Thank you all, and God bless you. See you next time, same station. Bye for now.